All right, everybody, thank you for coming to today's office hours. And if you're listening to this on recording, thank you for attending. My name is Mark Stepp. With me, I have Lisa, and we're going to be talking about in office hours magic, the merge fields magic, the magic of the brackets. And we were just talking right before this, some of the things that we've been doing. My family had been out of town, and we went to a magic show. So I guess that's where this kind of came from, was merge field magic, the magic of the brackets. My name is Mark Stepp. I am the Chief Innovation Officer here at Realvolve Product Development Engineering, and I've been doing this for like 31 years. God, this is crazy. Helping real estate agents with technology. And part of what drives me, what really enthused me is helping you guys do the things that you do on a daily basis through automation and making a sustainable business, but also understanding why and how you do things. So that's a little bit about me. On the other end of the wire here, we have Lisa Crombie. She's with our Premium Services Department, and just an amazing person. She has really shined in helping me understand a lot of times some of the things that real estate agents do. She is a real estate agent, but she's also head of the Navigator team and going through and helping real estate agents on a weekly basis just automate and set up the systems that they need to make their lives better as well. So as a team, as a duo here, I think we have a pretty good duo. She will be handling a lot of the questions and stuff while I do the training, and also talk about some of the premium services that are available through Realvolve if you have any of that as a question. So go through that. So today's agenda, the magic of the brackets, and you might be asking, what's the deal with the brackets? The brackets really is how we bring up what we call merge fields. So we're going to talk about merge fields, what they are, how do they work? What's the purpose of them, and just go through some of the special merge fields that are available that you probably won't see in a lot of other products out there, and why they're there, and what we've been doing. Because I've spent 31 years doing this process, I've seen a lot of what you guys do on a day in, day out basis. And a generalized CRM database or some of the technology that's out there is not geared for what you guys do. And there are certain things that because you've got special needs, we've created some special features. So we'll go through some of that as well. So what is a merge field? And simply put, a merge field is just a placeholder. It's something somewhere in the system that can be used to put some data that's unknown at a certain time. It's just a placeholder. At some point in the process, that placeholder is either known, it's filled in for you automatically, or it's you're able to put data into it in some way, but it's a placeholder. Current date, if you were to look at a document, and a lot of documents give you the ability to put an area on the document that says, what's today's date, and it just fills that in. That is a merge field. So hope that is quite evident. So if we take a look at how merge fields work, we have templates. Templates are one of the primary uses of merge fields. And in that template, you can create sentence structures and stuff, just like any regular document, but you use those placeholders, those merge fields, to hold a spot on that document so that it can be filled in later, so that the system can do the filling in for you and you don't have to worry about it. So if we look at in this sample, a template, we've got the current date field. Dear greeting is a merge field. Come down here, we've got signature, and what it does then is whenever you go to print whatever you're going to print, or email or text or whatever, it will fill in those values based off of content that's being collected. And what's important to understand is that depending on the type of document that you're using, you're going to have different merge fields available. Merge fields are unique to the type of document that you're using, whether it's a contact type document where you're bringing the data from the contact database, the property database, or the transaction database. And the way you determine that is the use with field. How are we going to use this template? Are we going to use it with a contact, a property, or a transaction? So we're always looking at the available merge fields whenever we go to use a merge field in a document, and we specify where that merge field is going to be placed and what it's going to contain. It has to be contained within the database that it's going to come from, contact, property, or transaction. So that's pretty straightforward. To add a merge field to something, and you can add it in multiple different places, this is where the magic of the brackets comes in. This is where you type in 2 square brackets, just bracket, and it'll display a list of available merge fields. Now, the magic part of this also is the fact that you can type something right after the 2 brackets that pertains to or describes the field that you're wanting to use. So if you're wanting to use something like a closing date or a closing time or clear to close, you can type in bracket, close, just the word close, and it can find the drop-down list will find any words, any merge fields that contain the word close, or in this case, CLOS. Actually, I probably need to change that. We'd only typed in CLOS up here. So it found closing date. So there's lots of different options there that you can pick and choose from. You scroll through the list, you can select it, and then it will fill in. So the merge fields, the easiest way to find any kind of given merge field is if you know what you're looking for. If you know what field, if you want to put in a closing date, if you want to put in a listing date, you type in some part of that word that you're wanting to include, and it should find it in the list. And then you may have to do a little bit of searching from that, but you can find it a whole lot quicker. Now, we do have in our help, if you go to help.realvolve.com, search for merge field, we've got some documents in there that lists all the different merge fields. And while that may be comforting to some, to me, it's overwhelming because literally we have thousands of merge fields whenever you take into consideration all the dates, all that are part of a property, a transaction, all the different things that are available. Now, not everybody uses all the merge fields, but there's a lot of them. Then you also look at all the party members to transactions and listings. And not only is it the name of the merge of the party member, so we might have a seller, and in that seller we have first name, we have seller last name, we have seller mailing name, phone number, email, all these different fields, so they just kind of add up. And if you've seen the list of available party members for any given listing or transaction, there's a pretty big list. And of those, if you were to print just an entire list, you might be taking a lot longer to find that merge field than if you were just to go in and say bracket, and then seller. And then it brings up all the merge fields for a seller. So something to look at, and we're going to go through that a little bit more. Where can we use merge fields? Now, merge fields can be used in templates, and we're going to go over that. But a big part of and kind of a speciality of Realvolve is being able to use merge fields within an activity. And you can use it basically in 2 different places. In the title of your activity, there's a very limited number of merge fields that you can use. Maybe in this case, it says call, contact number, contact, first name, or full name for appointment. So it'd say call Sam Smith for appointment. Whenever it actually merged in the information. If you start this workflow on Sam Smith, it would fill in that information there. But in addition to the title, which is really the bigger part of this, is in the checklist. Now you can put in checklist items. You can put in what I call static items. They're just like, maybe you wanted to make sure certain things were completed. Maybe the listing documents, did I get the listing documents? You can check it off or whatever. But you can also use merge fields in a checklist. And kind of the why of this comes from some of the experience that I've had with real estate agents is a lot of times you're wanting to verify or do data entry of information as part of an activity. You want to go in and say, well, I've got an activity, and right after I list the property, I want to make sure, and maybe my assistant's doing this, I want to make sure my assistant has put in the listing date and make sure that the seller is selected. So you can put in merge fields into a checklist. And again, it's just putting in bracket, do the search, and it'll bring up the list of fields, and you select it, and then it gets added to the checklist. What happens then is whenever you run this workflow and the activity comes due, then it'll show the checklist. And this is kind of an example of what the checklist would look like once it's available on your calendar or on your activities list, and you go to complete it. Well, there's activities on this checklist that need to be completed. So we could go in there and say, well, did we put the lockbox on the door? And we could check it off. Did we, put a sign in the yard? Check it off. Did we get the listing price entered? And there it is. Well, maybe they forgot, they didn't put in the value properly. If you put it in here for data verification, you know that you can double check it. Is it right? If it's not right, you can go in there and add it. If there's no value at all, you can add it in here and you can check it off. The magic part of this, because it's a merge field, it can put it back in because it's a field. It'll put it back into the listing price field of that listing. For the seller, you can select from your list of database, the people in your database, and select them to make sure that you've selected the seller and it's the right seller for the right property. So these are really, really important for just data entry and data verification. Does that make sense, everybody? All right. So using the merge fields in activities, one of the other benefits is that sometimes, like whenever you're starting a workflow, one of the workflow activities might be that you're going to get a photographer and you need to assign a photography date, and whenever you start the workflow itself, you may not know that. So whenever you start the workflow, you don't really have a date to put in. It's just a holding place for a date, but we don't really have the date yet. So the activity may come due. Hey, we need to schedule the photography. Then it could be that you're sending off information to a website and or scheduling yourself or whatever. But at some point, that date, or in this case, an inspection. Who's the inspector, when's the inspection date, and the inspection time. And again, maybe you've made a phone call, you've gone on a website, whatever, you've scheduled it, but you want to make sure that those values are right. And what you can do is this activity, once it comes due, you can put in the values. Who is the inspector? Who is, or when is the inspection date and the inspection time? The magic part of this is that whenever you put in a date in here or a time, if there are any other activities that are based off of that date and time, maybe you've got a reminder email or a reminder text message that says one day before the inspection date, I want to send an SMS to my home buyer and letting them know that, hey, this inspector's coming by at such and such a time. Well, if you didn't know the inspection time whenever you started the workflow, but at some point in there, the activity comes due and you do put in that inspection date and time, then it magically goes in there and finds any activities the one day before inspection date and says, okay, one day before the date you entered in, that's the new activity date for that activity. So now, by putting in values in the checklist, it has updated other activities in my database to make sure that my calendar looks right and that my buyers and sellers and other party members are informed of what's going on. Now, if you didn't have something like this, then, if the inspection date changed, then, you're having to resend information. And this just allows you to set it up properly and automatically, and you don't have to worry about the system at all. So where to use merge fields? We kind of talked about this. We can use it in the subject line of an email. We can use it within the body of an email, text message. There are even merge fields that can be used with our webhooks piece that you can do with other things. So merge fields can be used in lots and lots of different places, but it's just important that you realize the value of the placeholder, the magic of the brackets. So an example of this might be, hey, contact first name. I would probably use greeting there, but we've got a couple different options in this case. They just wanted to use the first name, blah, 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 the body, and then the signature. Whenever we go to merge this, then it fills in those values. We're going to be covering the signature piece in a little bit. It's a special merge field handled as a template in a template, but basically allowing you to fill in the value of the information. Now, why use the merge fields in templates? Well, quite frankly, it's a lot faster. It makes it so much easier for you to send out a templated email of content that can still be very personalized. It can be look as if you typed it in for that person, but it contains the data that you want. Not only is it faster, but it's also it's less error prone, because you might have a document that just has a ton of merge fields. And what if you miss something? If you were using some kind of saved response in Outlook or something like that, where you pull up a saved response and you fill in the information yourself, number one, it's taking time, and that's the big takeaway there is it takes time to fill in all those placeholders if you're doing it from a product like Outlook or some of the other systems that are out there where you're just using a saved response of some sort. But you also might miss certain fields if you're not reading them well. And that's a big time saver, and a making sure that values are filled in appropriately. So make sure that we've got that. So let's talk about some of the special merge fields. Now, if you look at the contacts, the properties, and the transactions, all the different fields that are in all the different databases are available. So if you need a certain field in the database, it should be available as a document merge field. It may not always be in the checklist. Most of them are, but there are certain ones that there are some limitations to some of the checklists. So you want to make sure that you always pick from the list of merge fields from the checklist using the bracket, not pasting in some merge field. But we do have some special merge fields that aren't just part of the main fields of databases, such as the current date. I mean, if you just want to always have a field for current date, there's one on there. That's pretty common amongst all things. We do have one called current day DOW, day of week. And so if you wanted to put the day of the week in there as well, as it's going out, you can. Now, we do have merge fields that are auto-generated for you. If you put in your first name and your last name in a contact record, it will build out the greeting and mailing name for you. The speciality of these two merge fields is the fact that if you have two records and they have a relationship with each other, where you have a husband and wife or a partner of some sort, if they are linked together, then that greeting field is changed and it will show the first name of both people. So if it's just an individual contact record, it'll just show one name. If I had a record in there of just Mark, the greeting would be Mark and the mailing name would be Mark Stepp. But because I'm married, I've got Kathy connected to my record in my database. My greeting is Mark and Kathy. So you could say, Dear Mark and Kathy. It's a greeting. Or I can use it as a mailing name, so for an envelope or something like that, where it's got the full name, Mark and Kathy Stepp. Now, you have the ability within the database to go in and set up that merge field how you want to look. Maybe you want the Kathy and Mark Stepp, or however you want it, Dr. and Mrs. Mark Stepp, whatever, you can set that up. But the merge field is the placeholder, and that placeholder will always be filled in with some value whenever you go to send it, and it just gives you that ability to set that up the way you need. Some of the other special merge fields that we have, though, which is what I want to kind of spend a little bit of time on, is let's kind of, I've grouped these into a few different ones. Number one is our checklist merge fields. So this is a weird one in the fact that I doubt very few products, if any of them, actually have this similar type of thing, but it's a special need that real estate agents need, and probably other people as well could use them, but they are built into Realvolve. And in this case, we can look at an activity and we can look at the checklist of that activity, and we can find there's a special merge field for all the checklist of a given activity, the list of completed checklist items, the list of incompleted checklist items, or any of those that have been removed, the ones that have the circle slash, the do not use or do not need. So these are some special ones. So how would this be used? In an activity, we might have an activity that in our workflow is set up something like this, where it's got a checklist and maybe it's got some actions. And this checklist is to make sure that you've got all the documents, make sure that you've, and certain fields filled in. Do we have the listing contract, the seller's disclosure, the seller's agency agreement? This information has got to be completed before the activity is considered done. Well, you might have in this send missing documents, you can have multiple actions for any activity. And in this particular send missing documents, we've got an action that sends an email called missing documents. And I want to cover this. But this action sends missing documents, and it's available when the action has incomplete checklist items. So if there's any of these activity checklist items that are unchecked, they have a blank square checkbox in them. Whenever I go to run this option is going to be available. Once they've all completed, this item is going to go away, and it'll just be this one. This activity, have all documents, is an email. It does not have this checkbox checked, so it's only available once everything is checked in the checklist item. So, show you how this actually works. And we're talking about, whoa. Well, that's interesting. So we're talking about, in this case, whenever we look at the activity, if we go to complete that activity, we started the workflow for that activity, and now it's due on this day. So we go through and we say, okay, well, we've got some merge fields in here. Did I get my listing price? Did I get my listing date? Is there an alarm code? No, there's not. So I'm going to circle slash that out. Don't need that. Did I put in the date in MLS? Yeah, I did. Because I've got an incomplete checklist, and because up here I said actions for an incomplete checklist, I've got an incomplete checklist. This item right here, send missing documents email, is available. So if I was to go and check this and click run, it's going to send. It's interesting. It's going to send this missing documents template. And that missing documents template basically says this. It has the current date. Dear seller agent, hey, seller agent, we need to make sure that we've got the following documents for this certain property address. And the merge field, activity checklist, incomplete. So it's looking at this checklist and finding any incomplete checklist items, and it's going to merge it in there, and it's going to put in the signature. Well, if we look at what actually is produced in, it puts in the date. Dear Joe agent, we need the following documents from you for this address. Now, you could be sending it to the seller. In this case, it's probably a listing coordinator sending it to the listing agent. And these are the documents that I need because they're not checked. It merges them in. So this merge field, special merge field, merges in each of the unselected items from that checklist. Now you can send it off. Now, the nice thing is you send this off. The other thing that this incomplete checklist item does, it says once you've run this activity and you schedule you need to reschedule the activity. I want to reschedule it 2 days. So I'm going to give them 2 days to get those documents back to me. Now you may say 0 and it just keeps the date. But what it does is whatever date this activity is due on, it'll add 2 days to that date. And then that activity then will be available on that date. So then it would come back on 2 days later and say, hey, do we have the missing documents? And hopefully we do. If we do, we can check them off. If we don't, maybe we can send them this email again, or maybe we have another activity or another action that says, hey, dude, you really need to send these. We can't list it until we have all this information. So this helps make sure that things flow better, make sure that you don't let things fall through the cracks. Lisa, I'm kind of running through all this. Do you have any advice for anybody on these?
No, I mean, I think that you're really hitting all of the important notes, and I'm really happy that you focused here on the incomplete checklist merge field because it really does wonders when you're needing those important documents for your transactions.
Absolutely. And again, these are things that being in the field with you guys for 31 years, these are the things that I've noticed on how you do your business and what you do. And these are things that are just not available in other products. So when we look at merge fields, not only are there merge fields for the incomplete, the checklist stuff, we also have special merge fields in their different databases, the property, transaction, or contact, merge fields for seller reports, for buyer reports, and the showing reports. Now, these are areas within Realvolve that allow you to put extra information that you're going to maybe send to the seller. And I'm going to use that one as an example, but they're all the same. They're all basically the same. They do the same process here. So just like we were using the incomplete checklist for the checklist items, we can also send a seller report to our seller of things that we've not sent to them yet. Non-sent only. And hang with me here. This one gets a little bit more depth, but we're going to hopefully explain it well for you. So if I go into a listing and I go into the seller report area. Now, last week, we kind of went through some of the items of how to get things into your seller report. how to get things into this area. You can manually add them. You can just add them. You can have the activities add themselves once they're completed. You can also create a merge field in a checklist to get things in here. But the main purpose of this is to give the seller, and there's one of these for the buyer in the transaction. There's also a similar type of thing for showings in a contact record. But what it is it's extra information that you want to send to that person and contain some additional information. So in this case, I did 4 different activities. I placed the sign for an open house, created some flyers for the open house, scheduled the open house, and submitted the information to MLS. These were different things that were done on different days, and they were put on there. So if I was to look at any one of these, and in this case, submitted information to the MLS, I just look at this one item right here. It was an activity, something I did. It was done on June 13th, and this is the information that I wanted to share with the seller. Just submitted the information to MLS. You can have whatever information in there. There's other fields that you could be filling in as well, but these are the things that's important for this particular aspect of it. But you're going to see there's a field here called date sent. When was this information sent to the seller? Well, in this case, there's no date. It's not been sent. If there is a date in there, then it would have been sent on that particular day, and the seller would know about it. But I've not sent this information. If I was to look at each one of these items on this list, all those fields would be blank. Now, I might have some other ones where the date was filled in. I had maybe sent them some stuff. Maybe it's week 2 or week 3, and I've already sent these items. Any new items wouldn't have a new date, but these items would have the date that I sent them. But in this case, this particular item does not have a date in it. Neither do the other 3. So I can use this merge field, property, because it's coming from the property database, seller report, it's the seller report information, non-sent only. Now, we had the seller report, which would send everything. We have a sent only, which sends all the ones that have already been sent again. It would merge in there. But in this case, I'm just wanting the ones that have the blank sent date. So whenever I actually do the merge, I send this email, it's going to fill in the date. So I've got the current date, the greeting, the merge field here, and the merge field for the signature. So if I look here, I've got the date. Who am I sending it to? Here is the merge field for the non-sent only. So it's looking at the dates. It looks at the type, and the comment to the seller is all in there as a bulleted point list of things that I wanted to portray to them. I wanted to send to them. And the beauty of this particular thing is you could have this as an automatic email that goes out every Friday automatically of all the things that were sent or that needed to be sent to them, and doesn't have to be filled in manually. You're not having to keep track of these manually and type in a full list of everything. It just does it for you automatically. So on a weekly basis, you're adding things to that list. And on a weekly basis, at the end of the week, it sends it out to the seller automatically, or the buyer if you're doing the buyer report, or if you're doing anything to the person, the lead, or the client that's looking at properties. Which properties did they see? Which ones have you already reported on? Just giving them a summary of the information about each property. So just some special merge fields there that, again, you're not going to find in other places. Now, one of the things I added several years ago, and it's probably one of the least used, which isn't surprising, I guess, but it can be very beneficial if you're wanting your messages to be more personal. And and that's using pronouns. Now, granted, pronouns right now are a little bit different. We only use the 3 pronouns: his, hers, or theirs. So the way this works is if a contact record, if you're typing in information into a contact, you go to the sex field, there is a male, a female. We have added an unspecified option. So if they are male and you sending a message, it would use the his, him, he, or his pronouns based off of, is it the different type of sentence structure that you need. If it's a female, then it's going to use the hers, their, she, or her, again, based off of that. Or if it's blank or unspecified, it'll automatically use the third option, the theirs, them, they, or their. And this is going to come together in a second. It'll make sense. Or if they've got a relationship, 2 linked people, either they're married or they're cohabitating or whatever, it'll use the last option as well automatically, no matter what's in the sex field. So the way this comes together is that you might have a message that said, you're sending this to the lender. Press again. You're sending this to the lender and you say, hey, Larry Lender, whatever. Could I have you get with Mark and Kathy, John and Mary Smith, just, an individual person or whatever. It's the full name of that person or couple, and get his, her, their pre-approval information sorted out. This is his, her, their first home purchase, and we want to make sure that, we have everything ready for them once they find the property, whatever. So if it is a couple, it's going to automatically use the word there. Could I have you get with John and Mary Smith and get their pre-approval? That makes sense, and it's very readable and stuff. But it uses that merge field then to identify based off of them being a couple. If it's a him and they're not married, it would use the his in this case. And if it's a her, it'd use the her. And whenever somebody's reading this, it looks more personal because it's got the pronoun in there. It looks more like you've manually typed it in because it has that pronoun in there. Because using merge fields don't normally do this. So that's an important one. Some of the other merge fields that we do use, if you go into your settings, my account, you'll see that there's lots of fields about your first name, your email, your address, and information you can use. All these are all the different merge fields for those. There's also for the team member, your team may be the Johnson Group, or what area do you serve, your service area. I serve the greater Springfield area or whatever. We do have one called In Business Since. So the In Business Since 1991. What we do is use that to also calculate one called Years in Business. So you could have a sentence at the bottom, maybe in your signature area, serving the community since 1991, or servicing this greater Springfield area since 1991, because it could combine those 2 merge fields. Or if you want to use the In Business, you want to highlight that number of years, serving the greater Springfield area for 31 years. And next year, it automatically calculates that. You don't have to change that manually because it is a calculated version of this. So just some special ones that you can use there. The last one that I really want to kind of focus on is the signature. Now, there are templates. Any template that you use can be sent. There is a special template for your signature. And there's really 2 different templates for that. There is a template that's just called Signature, and it's primarily used for SMS. Now, typically in that, it's just going to be a very basic text-only type of content. You're just going to put in some very basic information about you, your phone number, your email, that type of stuff that you could send out on a text message. We did have an older editor, an email editor, and we still have a few of those older templates out there. And if you're using the older templates, it will use this signature template for your signature. But any new documents, any new emails that you create, it's always going to use the template called Signature Enhanced. Now, both of them use the same merge field. You'll put in bracket signature in your document where you want this particular template to be inserted. But it knows, is it an SMS or is it an old email template? If it is, it's going to use this template. And if the document that this signature merge field is in is a new email, then it's going to be using the Signature Enhanced. But for the most part, any more these days, it's really just primarily for the SMS for using the signature. So what you can do then is create a separate template that we call either signature enhanced, and whenever you put in the signature bracket, it would then say whatever the content is here. And in this case, Lisa has the signature enhanced title, so this is going to be for any of the new templates. It will insert this entire block of information into the new template that they've created wherever this merge field signature is placed. So I hope that makes sense. Any questions on any of those merge fields? Anything in here?
Hey, Mark, can you just kind of go over the importance of, those signature templates are installed into their accounts when they have that record and not creating additional ones, copying signature templates?
Very good point. Yeah. So whenever you create a new user in your database, every user has their own signature and signature enhanced template. You cannot make signatures for other people and name them something other than this. These are special names. They have to be these names. You cannot have them named anything different. You can't have Mark's signature enhanced. It won't work. It has to be named signature enhanced or signature. And you really don't want to delete these. These are, because they are what they are, you don't have to use the signature merge field anywhere, but you certainly don't want to use them. Now, we do have two others, and I should have put these on here as well. In addition to signature, we also have header and we have footer, and they're the same thing. Every user has their own header and footer options, so that if you wanted to put maybe some special graphics as a header merge field, or whatever, header or footer, those are merge fields that can be used as well. They're just like signature. They're called header and footer. So, but definitely, you can make copies. If you go in here and you want to change it some way, but you're not sure that you want it, you can make a copy of signature and rename it afterwards. After you get it right, rename the new one to just signature and it'll do it, or rename the signature enhanced. You can. You only want one called signature and one signature enhanced. Make sure of that. Is that what you were intending, Lisa?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Looks like Katrina has a question. They use YStamp for their custom signatures, and they're told that they couldn't upload those elements separately. Do you know if that's still the case?
So I am not familiar with YStamp, but what you can do is there's if WiseStamp has a way to pull the HTML source of the signature itself, we do have in our template area this source option, and you can go into source and you can just paste the content there. We do have the HTML, but we were told last year not to use that in RV. Okay, well, I don't know why you couldn't use it. There may be a reason why you can't, but if you do want to try using it, maybe reach out to me and we can take a look at why there's a challenge there. One of the things that is possible there, depending on what they're doing, they may be using some kind of individual pixel that identifies, did they open it or not, and maybe you have to add special content in there for each individual signature, and it probably wouldn't work well if that's the case. But other than that, with our new HTML template editor, the enhanced editor, I've not seen any HTML that hasn't worked. But the thing is that they may have some special code in there that has to be in there, and it's just doing some crazy stuff. So maybe reach out to me, mark@realvolve.com afterwards, and we can take a look. Or if you want to send that HTML code to me, I'll take a look at it and see what the challenge is. Just mark@realvolve.com. Any other questions? Okay. Last few things. Number one, if you do have any other questions after this, definitely reach out to our help and get support. There's a couple different ways of doing that. You can go to search help to find any answers about Realvolve. I mean, just Google this. You can go to our help.realvolve.com. We have a huge library of help articles and information in our help area. So just go to help.realvolve.com and search there. Within Realvolve, if you go down at the bottom, there is a how do I, and you can find different topics, and it'll actually step you through certain things. How do I add a tag to a contact? And it will take you to the contact. It'll let you go to a certain place. It'll show you step by step how to do certain things. Definitely use our chat area down the bottom right. You can go to our live chat, and if at any point you can't reach us that way, definitely support has a submit a support ticket, and type in a ticket and our team will get back with you. Lisa, do you want to talk about premium services? We've got just a little bit of time. We can maybe give them some information about what you do and how you can help them on Realvolve on their business. You're muted.
Sorry about that. For those of you that don't know me, I am the manager of premium services, and we do offer programs such as semi-annual nav where you meet with a navigator bi-weekly, and we install custom workflows. We customize those for you, work with you on hourly calls. And we also introduced a self-service navigator program for those of you who perhaps maybe you want to work on your own. Right now, we are offering 33% off the cost of that program or both programs. So if you do have any interest, feel free to reach out to sales@realvolve.com for additional information. We do have a great team. We're building out workflows on a regular basis. So we do have coming soon a inbound, outbound referral workflow, managing your referrals. So we're in the process of reviewing that, and that should be released next week. So if you'd like to be notified when it's available, feel free to give us your name and email address in the chat, and we'll be happy to let you know when it's ready.
One of the cool things that our premium services team does, and Lisa's been instrumental in putting this together, is working with real estate agents week in and week out. We see what their needs are, and there are certain things that multiple agents will say, hey, how do you do this? And, setting up those workflows to be able to do this is time consuming. And what we've done is we've taken a lot of that time consuming part out of it and making it, at least the structure of it there, available for you to use. And, of course, you can go in there and you can tweak it and make it however you want. But from best practices purposes, knowing with Lisa being a real estate agent, being in the field and working with real estate agents all the time, seen a lot of different things go by, a lot of different ways of doing things, and you might actually learn a different way that's better for you and on how to do certain things. And this is definitely one. Those inbound and outbound referrals is something that a lot of agents deal with. So something useful. Awesome. Thanks, Daryl. All right. Last chance to ask any questions. Otherwise, we're out of here. Going once. Going twice. Appreciate everybody. Thank you for attending. And if you're watching on replay, if you've got any other questions, certainly reach out to our team on our community. We'd be happy to answer any questions there as well. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Bye.